March 7th carries a quieter but deeply reflective atmosphere. After several days of emotional shifts, relationship realizations, expanding ideas, and renewed desire, the energy turns inward toward understanding. Today holds a unique combination of influences. Mercury aligns directly with the Sun in what astrologers call a cazimi, a moment where the planet sits at the heart of the Sun's light. Symbolically, this represents a point of illumination. During Mercury retrograde cycles, thoughts can feel scattered, conversations can become confusing, and information may seem difficult to interpret. But when Mercury reaches this exact alignment with the Sun, a brief window of clarity appears. Something that once felt mentally tangled can suddenly make sense. You may find that a thought, realization, or perspective emerges with surprising simplicity. A conversation from earlier in the week may finally click into place. A misunderstanding may become easier to explain. Even internally, your mind may feel momentarily clearer than it has in several days. At the same time, Venus forms a conjunction with Neptune, which introduces a very different emotional atmosphere. Neptune softens boundaries and heightens imagination. It encourages empathy, compassion, artistic inspiration, and emotional sensitivity. Under this influence, people often feel more connected to ideals of love, beauty, and meaning. But Neptune also blurs distinctions. Feelings may become more poetic than precise. Someone may appear more appealing than they truly are. A situation may feel emotionally significant even when its practical implications remain unclear. Together, these two influences create an interesting psychological contrast. The mind may experience flashes of clarity, while the heart moves through waves of imagination and sensitivity. You may recognize a truth about a relationship or situation while still feeling emotionally drawn toward an ideal version of it. You may understand something intellectually while your feelings continue to explore what it could become. This is not necessarily contradictory. In many ways, it reflects how understanding often develops. Clarity rarely arrives in isolation from emotion. Sometimes insight appears while the heart is still exploring possibilities. The invitation today is to observe both experiences without forcing them into immediate agreement. Let the mind notice what has become clearer. Let the heart feel what it naturally feels. Because when awareness and sensitivity move together, deeper understanding begins to form. Now let's move deeper into the psychology behind today's combination. Mercury reaching the heart of the Sun represents a moment where awareness sharpens. Mercury governs perception, interpretation, communication, and the internal dialogue that organizes our thoughts. When it aligns exactly with the Sun, those mental processes briefly move out of the shadow and into direct illumination. During a retrograde cycle, Mercury often pulls the mind into review. We reconsider conversations, reinterpret information, and revisit ideas that previously felt unresolved. This process can feel confusing at times because new insights appear before old assumptions have fully dissolved. The cazimi moment acts like a focal point within that process. Psychologically, it can feel like a sudden moment of understanding. Something you have been thinking about repeatedly may suddenly resolve itself into a simpler truth. The mind stops circling the issue and sees the pattern more clearly. But this clarity is happening alongside a very different emotional influence. Venus joining Neptune opens the heart to imagination and idealism. Neptune dissolves the rigid boundaries that normally separate what is real from what is possible. It invites compassion, artistic expression, romantic longing, and the desire to experience something meaningful beyond ordinary reality. Under this influence, people may feel drawn toward beauty, symbolism, and emotional depth. A piece of music, a conversation, or even a memory may carry more emotional significance than usual. At the same time, Neptune can encourage projection. When we project, we see our hopes, ideals or fears reflected in another person or situation. Instead of perceiving them exactly as they are, we experience them through the lens of what we wish they could be. This is where today's psychological tension becomes interesting. Mercury Cazimi reveals truth. Neptune invites imagination. You may recognize something about a relationship or circumstance that feels undeniably clear, yet your emotional response may still explore the idealized version of that same situation. For example, you might understand intellectually that a connection has limitations, while emotionally you still appreciate the beauty or meaning it holds. Or you might realize that someone has qualities you admire while also recognizing that your expectations of them may have been unrealistic. Neither awareness needs to cancel the other. The deeper lesson here is integration. Clarity does not have to destroy inspiration, and imagination does not have to erase truth. When both operate consciously, you gain the ability to appreciate the beauty of something while still seeing it honestly. The most valuable question today may simply be this: what truth became clearer today, and what ideal am I still exploring around it? Now bring this influence down into everyday life, because today's energy may appear in subtle but meaningful moments. You might notice that your thoughts feel slightly clearer than they have in recent days. A question you've been reflecting on may suddenly seem easier to answer. Something someone said earlier in the week might finally make sense. Even internally, you may feel a moment where your mind organizes scattered thoughts into a clearer understanding. These flashes of clarity are often quiet. They don't always arrive as dramatic realizations. Sometimes they appear as a simple shift in perspective, where you suddenly see a situation in a more straightforward way. At the same time, your emotional sensitivity may feel heightened. Interactions with others might carry a softer tone. You may feel more empathetic towards someone's experience. A creative idea may capture your attention more strongly. Music, art, or meaningful conversation could resonate more deeply than usual. Venus interacting with Neptune tends to make people more receptive to beauty and emotional nuance, but it can also encourage romantic interpretation. You may find yourself imagining possibilities within a relationship or situation that feel emotionally compelling. A small gesture might seem full of meaning. Someone's kindness might feel especially touching. These responses are natural under this influence. The key is awareness. Emotional inspiration can be valuable when it encourages compassion, creativity, and appreciation, but if interpretation moves too quickly toward assumption, the mind may begin filling in details that are not actually present. If you notice yourself building a story around a moment or interaction, pause for a moment before deciding what it represents. Let the experience exist without needing to fully define it immediately. Today rewards quiet observation. You may understand something important about a situation while also allowing your feelings to move through their natural process. There is no need to rush toward conclusions or force emotional certainty. Sometimes the most meaningful insights appear when the mind remains open long enough to observe both clarity and imagination at the same time. Now bring this influence into your own experience, sign by sign, not as prediction, but as awareness of how clarity and imagination may interact in your life. If you're an Aries, today may bring a clearer understanding about your own thoughts or intentions. Something you've been considering may suddenly feel simpler. Growth for you lies in expressing that clarity calmly rather than pushing it forward too quickly. If you're a Taurus, emotional sensitivity may increase in subtle ways. You might notice memories or feelings surfacing that help you understand a situation more deeply. Growth for you involves allowing those feelings to guide reflection without turning them into fixed conclusions immediately. If you're a Gemini, Social interactions may reveal something meaningful through conversation. A friend or colleague might say something that triggers a moment of insight. Growth for you lies in listening carefully to what resonates rather than reacting to every possibility. If you're a Cancer, professional or personal direction may become clearer through quiet realization. You may understand something about your priorities or ambitions that was previously uncertain. Growth now is about trusting that insight while still allowing space for emotional nuance. If you're a Leo, belief systems or perspectives may expand through inspiration. You might encounter an idea, story, or experience that shifts how you see something important. Growth for you lies in exploring that inspiration without immediately needing to define its final meaning. If you're a Virgo, deeper emotional dynamics may become clearer. You may recognize a truth about vulnerability, trust, or shared connection. Growth now involves acknowledging that clarity without feeling the need to analyze every emotional layer. If you're a Libra, relationships may bring both understanding and imagination. You might see someone more clearly while still appreciating the qualities that initially drew you toward them. Growth lies in balancing honesty with compassion. If you're a Scorpio, daily routines and responsibilities may reveal a meaningful insight. A small realization could help you understand why certain patterns exist in your life. Growth for you involves using that awareness constructively rather than becoming overly intense about it. If you're a Sagittarius, creative or romantic inspiration may appear unexpectedly. You may feel drawn towards something beautiful, expressive, or emotionally meaningful. Growth lies in enjoying that inspiration while staying grounded in the present moment. If you're a Capricorn, family or personal dynamics may become clearer. You might recognize a pattern or emotional truth within your private life. Growth for you involves allowing that awareness to guide gentle adjustment rather than immediate restructuring. If you're an Aquarius, communication may carry unusual depth today. A conversation or idea may spark a moment of understanding that changes how you interpret something. Growth lies in letting that insight settle before acting on it. And if you're a Pisces, your values and emotional priorities may feel more visible. You might realize what truly matters to you beneath the surface of expectations or assumptions. Growth now involves honoring that understanding without losing your natural compassion. As we close March 7, take a moment to notice how clarity and feeling may have moved together today. Some days bring decisive answers, other days bring emotional depth. But today may have carried a quieter kind of awareness, where understanding appeared in small moments while your emotions continued exploring what those moments might mean. You may have noticed a realization about a situation or a relationship that suddenly felt clearer than before. Something that once felt mentally tangled may have simplified itself into a more honest understanding. That kind of clarity does not always arrive dramatically. Often it appears as a calm recognition that something is simply true. At the same time, your emotional world may have remained open and imaginative. You may have felt inspired by beauty, creativity, or the possibility of something meaningful unfolding in your life. Even ordinary interactions might have carried a sense of symbolism or emotional depth. These two experiences can seem contradictory at first. Clarity suggests definition, while imagination explores possibility. But when they are allowed to coexist, they can deepen understanding rather than compete with one another. Clarity helps you see a situation as it is. Imagination reminds you that life also contains meaning, connection, and inspiration beyond what is immediately visible. Tonight, you might reflect on a few simple questions. What realization felt especially clear to me today? What feelings or inspirations emerged alongside that realization? And how can I allow both truth and imagination to exist without forcing them into immediate agreement? Wisdom often develops in that space between understanding and feeling. You do not need to resolve every emotional question tonight. You only need to acknowledge what became clearer and allow your heart to continue exploring what it means. Because when insight and sensitivity move together, they create a deeper kind of awareness. And that awareness becomes the foundation for the choices you make next.